Mr. Valley, you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. We've taken the few minutes that you've granted us.
Yes.
We've gone through the disclosure. I believe it's marked CJC 366.1 through CJC 366.4.
Yes, yes.
We're not sure about the relevance, but we'll learn as you learn about where
where this is
going this morning.
Where this is going. Thank you very much, Mr. Valley. Thanks, Mr. Hassim.
Thank you, Chair. So, Chair, where I was at first was just to take you back to the chat itself, the exchange between Lieutenant General Khan and the other officer, and that's displayed now. The article there is the article by Ms. Marianne Thamm. It was published in the Daily Maverick. And to remind you, the response from General Khan was, this journalist is a good friend of Jacobs and Vieri. And again, Lieutenant General Jacobs is the subject of that media report. And then the officer replies, it's clear as all articles are written by a single journalist. Counter needs to be activated on this journal. And the date of that conversation is 17 January 2021. Chair, I wish to submit into the exhibit bundle CJC 366. That is a set of documents pertaining to an affidavit that we obtained this weekend from Ms. Marianne Thamm. 366.1 is the affidavit itself. I'll take you to the affidavit, but what the affidavit shows is not 2 months later, after this exchange, Ms. Thamm was the victim of a housebreaking in which 2 of her laptops were stolen. So it begins with Ms. Thamm saying that she's a senior journalist at the Daily Maverick. That's on page 1 of the affidavit. Chair, if you don't mind, I won't read the entire thing, but only the relevant aspects. The second paragraph is where she describes the incident. She says, during the late evening of Saturday, 13 March 2021, I returned my house, she means to my house, situated on the corner of, and then she provides the address, to discover a break-in with my office ransacked, that is her home office, desk drawers emptied and pulled out, and my 2014 Daily Maverick Mac laptop stolen. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that the thief or thieves had also taken a personal MacBook Pro, which I had refurbished for my older daughter from her bedroom. This device had a Daily Maverick sticker on the casing. An iPad was taken from my youngest daughter's bedroom and a handful of jewelry, and then she describes the jewelry that was stolen. She says other large ticket items such as a flat screen TV, Bluetooth speakers, various cameras, and even a small amount of cash were left intact. She goes on to say that I informed the Claremont police station that evening. An officer arrived, took a look around, and registered the case, and she gives the CAS number, which is CAS 139/3/2020. But I believe that's a typo because this was in 2021, so it should be 139/3/2021. I was later sent an SMS by a Sergeant N. Getra to acknowledge this. On page 2, she says, at the time, the officer could find no entry point to my house, which was Warring. Only the following morning, when 2 other more senior officers arrived to take a statement, was it discovered that the intruders had entered the house by cutting the iron burglar bars outside the lounge window. The curtain had been pulled shut, which is why the SAPS official the previous night could not find any entry point. A fingerprint expert arrived a few days later and informed us that the intruder or intruders had left no prints and had worn gloves, as was clear from smudges around the window frame. In the rest of the affidavit, she provides some background to the incident and other attacks on journalists. And then she signs and dates it on page 3, the affidavit. She annexes to her affidavit 2 photographs. The first, which is on page 4, is a picture of her home office with drawers open. And the second on page 5 is the entry point. It's the picture with the burglar bars bent and the window opened. The attachments following that relate to the background information that Ms. Thamm provided in the affidavit. And then, Commissioners, if you look at page 8, 9, and 10, this is information that we were provided by the SAPS, which they retrieved from their system. And probably the first is a description of the incident. We don't need to go into it, it's a repetition. It's the note that was taken by the officer who first attended the scene. The second is just a screenshot of the case details. And then on page 10, you'll see, again, it's information of the case details. It registers the station as Claremont and the CAS number and the incident. So it's confirmed from the side of the SAPS that this case was opened and this is what happened. The case was closed. No further detection was possible to determine who the perpetrators were. So that was the incident. Now,
please remind me, what was the date the journalist wrote this and that should be done about this journal? The date of the text. The date of the text.
17 January 2021.
Oh, all right, thank you.
And this incident took place on the 13th of March 2021. Now, Chair, I don't, this later housebreaking in March, on this evidence alone, can't conclusively show that it was linked to the WhatsApp exchange. But the sequence is alarming. And I raise it because it requires further investigation. It's a coincidence. It can't just be a coincidence, in my mind, which is why I think it needs to be referred.
That's exactly why I was interested in the closeness of the timing, yeah.
That's correct. It was less than 2 months between the exchange and then this event. And then, as Ms. Thamm tried to say, this is in the context of other attacks on journalists, which I also referred to on Friday. So, Chair, it warrants investigation also into whether General Khan or the other officer took any steps after the housebreaking to either distance themselves from it, given the fact that they had this exchange, or to ensure that there isn't any member involved or any state-linked actor that was involved in the housebreaking. And if General Khan were here, I would ask those questions, because if that had not taken place, then that omission too would be significant. So, what is disturbing is that on the face of it, you have a senior crime intelligence officer informing another member of crime intelligence that a journalist appears to favor particular senior police officers, one of whom happens to be General Khan's superior. That's Lieutenant General Peter Jacobs. The response from the other member is not, well, journalists be journalists. It's, we need to do a counter. And there's no evidence that General Khan said, no, don't do that kind of thing, or trying to prevent him from taking any, trying to prevent the other officer from taking any steps that may be inappropriate. So what it shows is that there's a willingness to use intelligence, crime intelligence capabilities and crime intelligence resources. Well, there's a picture of a farm with cows on the farm.
6498.
Sorry, 6499.
Yes.
Sorry, 6498. It's
yeah.
over 2 pages.
Okay.
6498 and then 6499. And on 6498, this is the chat with Mr. Mo Sayed, and just for the record, this is in December 2021, 14 December 2021, that these images are being shared. And Mr. Sayed says to him, "You on the farm, Brew?" And he says, "Yes." And then if you look at page 4962, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Commissioners. The order is a bit wrong. It's 5075. 5075. And this is January 2021. It's the chat with Mr. Valley, and he says in the second chat, "Your farm," and General Khan says, "G." Immediately before that exchange are a series of pictures of the farm. If you scroll upwards, you'll see the pictures.
As G means yes.
Yes, G. Then we can go to page 4962. And what you see on this page is in the middle of the page, General Khan, again, this is October 2020, 22 October 2020. General Khan says, "How's the new M5? I take it the M5 is a BMW motor vehicle. Mr. Valley responds, "Amazing car, get this car, bro." On the next page, General Khan says, "Price?" And Mr. Valley says, "I paid for this 2.3 with carbon ceramics. If you don't push spec, I'll get for you at 2.1. And then General Khan says, "A bit heavy for me. I'm building my house at the moment, all extra cash going to the project." And then Mr. Valley says, "George?" And General Khan says, "Yes." So again, this is a reference to George in the Western Cape. This is in 2020. Wish to make in relation to this evidence. The second is that it raises the question of disclosure. And if this trip was declared by Ms. Mashazi, we believe it wasn't, but if this trip was declared by Ms. Mashazi to the city or the council or an ethics or compliance structure within the city, then that record should exist. If it was not declared, then the failure to disclose a trip like this, as I said, it's not an ordinary trip. This is not just, an economy flight with your family to a low-budget hotel in London. Then the failure to disclose itself would be a matter of grave concern, because it would mean that a senior municipal officer accepted or was associated with a private benefit of an extraordinary value without any transparency to the public institution that she served in. So that's the second point in submission I'd like to make of concern that emerges from this evidence. The third is that the Commission would want to consider who benefited from this trip beyond Ms. Mashazi and her husband and her friends, because a payment of 3.3 million for a weekend flight is so far outside of ordinary hospitality or gift that it invites the inference that the person who paid for it expected something in return. And the question would be, if this was a gift or gratification, what influence or protection or access was expected from Ms. Mashazi in return, in her capacity as a city manager of Ekurhuleni. The fourth submission I would make on this is that General Khan is provided with this information, and that his receipt of this itself is significant. And the question would be, what interest did he have in this information? On the face of it, it's not apparent what interest he has in receiving this information. And the fifth and final point I want to make is that the question would be not just what interest General Khan had in it, but what did he do with the information? Did he refer it to the city or to the Hawks or to the NPA? One would have expected, normally one would expect that that would be the normal course, that it would be referred to the relevant authority or something would be done with it. It would seem not, because Ms. Mashazi held her position as a city manager until last year, and this trip took place in 2022. So, she remained in a position until she retired last year. So, on the face of it, it seems that nothing was done with it, or else she would not have remained in her position.
And when did General Khan become aware of this? Because you seem to be implying that it was in 2022 when he became aware.
I'll tell you, just want to confirm the date that I was looking at. It was in October 2022, Commissioner.
Is it those?
And here, what we see is Mr. Valley sends General Khan a copy of an email from Kazan to Ms. Mkhonazi, complaining to them, SAPS and Treasury, about not getting enough orders. So the email starts on 5541, it continues on to 5542. I've described what it's about, Chair. Would you like me to read it into the record?
Read what you would want to read and then make the explanation?
So, Chair, the gist of the message is a complaint about the contract not being financially viable because they're not getting sufficient purchase orders. He sends this is an email that's sent from Kazan, It's then forwarded to General Khan. And Mr. Valley says on page 5543, will Brew manage to chat to F? So it's the same complaint that we've seen in previous letters about the buyouts and parts and purchase orders. So he says, will Brew manage to chat to F as to get that meeting about all this and buyouts? And General Khan replies, I will call him tomorrow. And Mr. Valley responds, JZKL, thank you. And then if we scroll down, so the concern here is about the financial viability of this contract. Clearly, they're not happy with what they're getting out of it. On page 5544, well, let me just say this, because 5544 to 5545, what you will see is a media announcement of the President, Mr. Ramaphosa, approving the Just Energy Transition Framework, which is a move away from fossil fuels to sustainable energy sources. So that's what this media announcement is about. South Africa approves $8.5 billion plan to move away from coal. And then Mr. Valley responds to that with more objectionable language. That's not the relevant part. If we scroll further down, 5546, what he says is we got to make some huge money. General Khan seems to agree with Mr. Valley's assessment of the President, as you see from his response, which is big C followed by 3 letters. And then Mr. Valley says, Inshallah, we land a big one, Brew. You will see. And General Khan responds, Inshallah.